One.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. This is Riley Davison, and we welcome you to Bravo Zulu Radio. When I was asked to do this interview, I was excited from the very beginning, and I said I would be honored to do it because both of my parents were military, and to have the opportunity to have this gentleman in studio, Mr. Cody, to have the opportunity to interview him.
We're still looking at 22 veterans a day that are killing themselves, unfortunately, and we have found that a lot of these guys really miss the camaraderie as well as the brotherhood that they had while they were in. They don't necessarily miss the time that they were in, but they miss the guys.
Sure.
And a lot of these guys are sent to a therapist to sit on a couch and talk to a man or a woman about issues that they are diagnosed with, and they don't really open up and they don't really get that healing that they need and that they deserve. So on Thursdays, we have a men's group at 7 o'clock. At 6:30, we usually feed the guys a dinner that are donated again through gracious donors. And once that happens, we bring everybody into a room, all the men that are combat veterans or diagnosed with PTSD that are a veteran, and all the women and kids go to a family group. Now, the women and kids in the family group, when they go in there, they have their own peer-to-peer support group as well. We've found that guys diagnosed with PTSD that are in long-term relationships with their wives, sometimes their wives get PTSD as well from walking around on eggshells at the house and,
Right.
and dealing with all that it entails.
Right.
But the men's group, really where we started, these guys just come in and it's Fight Club, right? What's said in here stays in here. Let's be honest men and let's help each other out. And you'd be surprised how many guys open up and talk in there and how good it is for those guys.
And how they wouldn't do so if it wasn't for that type of a situation. So basically, not to compare it to a locker room, but you have that one-on-one and that camaraderie that goes along with being in the field and being subjected to the same things together. And it's the type of a situation that the normal people, people that have never experienced that would never understand. And then now to come back to the general society and not have that one-on-one and personal relationship with so many men, then they miss that, and they're looking to combine, and they're looking to get that feeling back again.
Yeah, that's a very good analogy as a locker room. That's very good. I guess what I'm working on right now is at the end of the month I'm going before the Texas State Senate dealing with veteran affairs, and we're going to talk about how we can help bridge the gap between active duty VA transition. Some of these guys, you get out and they don't really, as far as I was in the Army, so I don't know how the Navy and Air Force does it, but the Army, you go through a one-day class. It's about 6 hours. In my case, it was taught by a female that probably had 2 years of community college, and she kind of just overviews your resume and makes sure you're legible, and then that's your transition process.
Wow.
Get out, good luck. There's no one to walk you over to the VA and kind of get you. There's no such standard to say, okay, well, today you get out in 9 days. Today we're going to go to the local VA and we're going to get you lined out with X, Y, and Z. So when you get home,
Right.
you're not lost in the sauce for 7 months.
Right.
It's crazy how much, as soon as you say I'm done, I'm served honorably, I'm out, there's no support on the active side.
See, that's incredible, because you think here we are in Military City, USA, and I think a lot of people would be very surprised to hear you say the VA had failed anyone. I mean, I know that there have been things in the past in the media and what have you that have come out, and so people understand it's not a perfect system, it's not a perfect society, but to hear that, whereas let's look at it from this point. Let's say the day that you signed up to join the military, from that point, how much not indoctrination, but how much of work did it take to get you to where you were a functioning soldier?
Yeah, it's a culture at that point, right? You're so ingrained in the culture, and then you're released back into society, so to speak, where I've been so rigid and so disciplined in everything I do, and now you're telling me just to figure it out.
But you would think that the ramp up the ramp down would equal the ramp up. In other words, you go through basic training. There should be that exact same thing when you're coming back down.
Right, I totally agree. One of the things we're trying to work on too, speaking at the state senate, is about the veteran treatment courts. So, in the context of law, veteran treatment courts are still really in their infancy. The first one was founded in Buffalo in 2012. So we're not even looking at 10 years that these veteran treatment courts have been around. But what I'm finding from building rapport with Bexar County and Comal and Williamson is they're not a drug court, they're not an alcohol court.
Right.
They're kind of their own entity, but they're being ran kind of like a drug or alcohol court. But some of these guys, they're in the process now of, I think they're just now starting to scratch the surface that not every veteran's the same, not every veteran has the same story. Different guys did different deployments, different guys did different jobs, and some guys, they need to go to an inpatient, they need real help, and some guys need to, maybe get in and talk to another veteran and let's volunteer him, give him back to something bigger than him. Let's rehabilitate this guy, because I don't know. I'm working with a volunteer now. He did special things, if that makes sense to people listening, for this country. He did special things.
Right.
Great guy, smart, undergraduate degree, postgraduate degree.
Well, it takes that type of an intelligence, that type of the ability to absorb the training to be able to do special things.
Correct.
Right.
And he diagnosed PTSD, alcoholic, got in trouble, but I didn't agree with what they wanted him to do. I finally got in touch with somebody at this particular court, and they agreed, let's let you have him for a little bit. Let's try to rehab him, and keeping up with him. Hey, this guy's telling me, I got a purpose in life again. This is great, and it's mutually beneficial for me too, because we're a nonprofit and I can't have a huge staff. But this guy's done so much work in the last 2 weeks. You'd think we'd hired him full time, and he's even said, like, talking to you and the one-on-one mentor and the coaching. My kids have said, Daddy, you don't seem so sick anymore. It's good to have you home. And he's told me, since being here and doing all this, I'm actually present at home. I'm not just there anymore.
Right. Be here now. That's a sign that I'm familiar with. Absolutely, you have to be there in the moment. So to think that we're talking about gentlemen, men and women, who have dedicated their lives to the service of the country, and now that they have, they come back, and it's not something that's brand new to any of the conflicts of just the last couple of years, but we're talking about something that we understand goes back to Vietnam and what have you. The actual fact that when you come back out of the theater of war and you have to try and come back into society, it's a different thing. When you've talked to me a little bit about being in that theater of war, where man's four-dimensional: mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. When you're there and you're that hyper sense, that hyper awareness all the time, 24/7, what does it do to you?
I was nobody special. I was an airborne infantryman when I was in. I had a fairly normal airborne infantry deployment, minus my roommate deserting for the Taliban. But other than that, it was fairly prototypical. But still, even if that, not being a Green Beret or a Navy SEAL or what all the super cool guys do, you're still taught to eliminate another human being. You're still taught to not be empathetic. You're still taught to be very rigid. This is the mission. This is one track, tunnel vision mind. And then coming back, trying to transition to be a civilized, normal human. Someone that's almost innocent again, in a sense, is very difficult.
When you think in terms of nurses and doctors are taught not to personalize the situations that they see their patients going through. This is light years beyond that. This is, as you said, the job is to eliminate another person, and then to somehow come back out of that without bringing the vestige of hopelessness that goes along with that. Then maybe hopelessness is not the right word, but the inhumanity that comes away from that. And then now, okay, I need to turn my life around, and I need to go back to what I was. Don't you? I marvel at the fact that July 4th meant to celebrate American freedom and what have you. I've read that it can be very, very traumatic for veterans because with the loud noises and what have you, that it's actually, it doesn't serve the purpose for them.
Me personally, if I know explosions are coming, I'm okay, because I know, okay, it's July 4th, fireworks are going off, all that. My thing that gets me is we walking around, two trains bang into each other, or somebody drops a filing cabinet or something like that. That's when I do a little duck and what was that? But,
First one on the ground. Yeah.
But thankfully, I'm so far in my recovery is, oh, that was just a trash can, or we're good. We're in San Antonio. We're not in the sandbox anymore. But for a lot of guys, that are much further off than I am, yeah, it can be pretty detrimental.
Okay, again, this is Riley Davison. You're listening to Bravo Zulu Radio, and I have Cody Full in the house, and I am just so excited to have you here. Now, let's touch on something real quick, because you did mention that you had a roommate that headed out for the Taliban, and you've actually testified before Congress with regard to this situation. You want to go ahead and talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, 2014, I testified for the Armed Services Committee about Bo Bergdahl. He was my roommate when we were in the Army, and he deserted while we were stationed over there, and it went into that and a bunch of political nonsense that turned into.
Right. Incredible. So, yeah, what does that feel like? I mean, you're serving with, you're serving with such dedicated people, and then to have a situation like that happen.
Well, it affected me with my PTSD for sure. When I got back, I had severe trust issues. I still do at some point. That was somebody that literally slept in the same room, slept foot away from me.
Right.
Thought we were blood brothers like everyone else in the platoon. There's a thing in the Army, or any service. I keep saying Army. I should probably just say service. But there's guys you work with, especially in infantry, that outside of work, I probably don't like you. I'm probably not going to get a beer with you or whatever, or go eat a burger or whatnot.
Right.
But if someone comes over here, I got your back 100%, and you got my back 100%.
Right.
So, feeling that with him, and then for him to just walk off on his own accord and desert, it's like the ultimate betrayal. So I still, when I was working through my issues coming home, that was one of the big things I'd admit to myself was, hey, you got severe trust issues because of this. It was growing in yourself, recovering, and realizing, hey, you're pushing a lot of people away that you shouldn't be pushing away. They're trying to help you.
Well, see, so here you've got a situation where Uncle Sam builds a soldier that, in essence, you have to make sure that you understand you're the top of the line, you're the top dog. You have to be in charge, and you have to, you have to be ready to do whatever it is that the mission requires, and then to have to come back and humble yourself the way you just talked about doing, saying, okay, wait a minute, I got to take a look at myself, the personal issues that I'm dealing with, and all of a sudden, and then really, compartmentalize, saying, okay, I've got trust issues, I've got this issue, I've got that issue I need to deal with. That's a tremendous thing. So it's almost as if you've been asked to serve twice. You've been asked to serve on behalf of your country, and then now you come back and you're asked to serve in terms of your own personal recovery, and now you've taken the step beyond. You're not just working on yourself and for yourself. You realize that there's such a need for this that you're taking it out. You're dedicating your life and your purpose to helping these other men and women.
Right. I've just sat around and seen 22 a day, 22 a day, 22 a day, 22 a day. Nothing's working. Right. So I guess I got to a point in my life where I'm like, well, let me try to put in an effort and see if I can make a difference. I'd really, minus 22 is what I want. Minus 22. I don't want any. I don't want 22 minus 22, zero. There shouldn't be a reason why they're killing themselves every day. And I think a lot of that is, again, just peer support like we have. I had a Vietnam veteran come office 2 weeks ago. He was looking for the VFW. I was like, "Hey, sir, sir, you're in the wrong spot." And
I can Google it for you.
But hey, he's like, "Well, what do y'all do?" And I told him what we do, and I was like, we talked for about an hour. And I know me personally, and a lot of guys there love Vietnam veterans just because of what they went through, and So I said, hey, well, tomorrow's group, you know, if you want to come and chat. I said,
Right.
there's a couple other Vietnam veterans in there. I said, they're mainly global war and terror guys, but there's a couple of Vietnam veterans in there. I said, but sir, all these 30-year-old and 20-year-olds, when you talk, just be prepared. You're going to be center of the room. Like, we really think a lot of you guys.
Right.
And he showed up, and he's been there. This will be 4 weeks in a row.
Wow.
So
Now, PTSD, that was not even a diagnosis back then. When did the actual PTSD, when was that actually put together? It wasn't 20 years ago, right?
No, it wasn't that long, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I told him, I've asked him, I said, well, what do you think it would have gone like? I know you can't travel back time, but what is your honest opinion on it if something like this would have been available to you guys when you got back from Vietnam? And he said, I wish it would have.
Right.
He's like,
Well, instead of First Blood and 17 more movies after that.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we, I guess we're at the point now where there's not a lot being done besides giving out a bunch of medication. There's no holistic approach to it, and we're trying to build something here where families can go. You know, it's not just
Right.
you know, dad needs help. Well, maybe the whole family needs a little bit of help. And
And you were telling me that you actually have the setup for the kids, and you go ahead and tell me about that.
Yeah, our office is a great spot at Warm Springs. We're in a great partnership with Warm Springs, and they do a lot for us, and we're very appreciative of them. And the building that we have, full kitchen, full kids room stocked with kid movies, TV, DVD player, all kinds of toys and everything. We have a big auditorium in the back that'll probably seat 250 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then we have, you know, our conference room for the men's group. There's plenty of space for, you know.
What's the address?
1417 Maltzberger Jones Road.
Jones Road, right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so you're there all day?
So Monday through Friday, 9 to 4:30, 9 to 5, just depending on what we got going on. Sometimes we're beating boots out in the community, so we're not there.
Right.
We have a little sign on the door that says you can
Right.
you know, reach us. Our main thing right now is getting into building good rapport with these veteran treatment clinics as well as the local outpatient clinics with the VA. We're really making some headway this week with those. We'd like to. I just don't think it's you know, the trajectory of a whole family nuclei. I don't think it's a wise decision to take someone. Not all the time, right? There's circumstances. There's context is everything. But I think some of these cases, if you really get down in the context of these guys that get arrested, well, why'd they get arrested? Well, they got a DUI. That's not why they got arrested. That's what they got arrested for, but that's not why.
Right. That's
So
not the underlying problem.
Yeah, right.
If you don't treat there's the treating the cause, and then there's the treating the effect, and you need to make sure that you get to the cause.
Yeah, why'd this guy get arrested? Oh, he hauled off and hit some guy at a bar. Okay, what did he get arrested? Why did he do that? You know, you start diving into some of these things. There's really some underlying PTSD issues and some things we can help with instead of, you know, I'm not saying let's not, you know, punish whatever they're doing, but you know, you're a veteran treatment court. You're supposed to be alternatives for the veterans. So instead of sending them off to prison or jail or having some excruciating probation or parole thing, well, let's work some actual treatment in there with fellow vets that can kind of mentor these guys and be the bridge on the other side of these guys that have been there, done that, gotten through it. You know, so these guys aren't making the same mistake in 2 or 3 years.
Right. Well, and that goes to a whole other point. Whereas the prison system was not, you know, originally intended to be simply for incarceration. That's what they used to call them, you know, rehabilitation. That word used to be in there, and they don't utilize that anymore. But no, absolutely, there's no doubt what a tremendous cause, and what a beautiful thing it is, really, that you're giving yourself to doing this, to helping people, and to the sacrifice, because I know it takes a toll on you as well. Because my mom was a registered nurse all my life, you know, and I'm 57 almost. And, you know, when you think about what, you know, how much she internalized what she went through and what have you, this has to be even worse than that.
Yeah, I find it's really hard for me to turn it off. I get home and my brain's just thinking about work. Like, okay, what do I got to do tomorrow to help the next guy? You know, because a lot of what I'm doing now is the new leadership style under me being here now is much more proactive.
Because you said you've only been here for...
This is my 3rd week.
Okay, well,
So
okay.
We've done a
I'm
lot.
honored, really honored to be able to have you here.
Thank you, and I'm grateful to be here. We've done a lot of great things, a lot of great changes, and that's not just lip service. I welcome anybody to come by our office and see some of the great things we're doing. But yeah, I find myself, I'm playing a lot of chess here. There's a lot of moving parts, which in this thing there shouldn't be a lot of moving parts, but that's just the world we live in.
Should be simple.
Right. And I find myself, playing mental chess at night. Okay, well tomorrow, I got to this person, to that person, I can get to this person who can really make a difference on, helping out. Just a lot of that. And
well, if anybody's listening and you feel like you can kind of smooth the path for Cody, we would sure appreciate it. So go ahead and give them your email.
Yeah, it's Cody, CODY, .full, FULL, at PTSUSA.org.
Okay.
PTSDUSA.org.
Got it. And your phone number?
832-748-1252. That's my cell phone, so if you call me, just leave a message, I'll call you
One
back.
more time.
832-748-1252.
All right. So Cody, is there anybody out there that you think, wow, I want to make sure that I've said thank you to this person?
If you're a veteran, if you're a wife of a veteran, or a mom, or a dad, brother, whoever, if you got a veteran that's close to you, or you're a veteran yourself, if you think they're struggling with PTSD and they're not the kind of guy to go to the doctor, have them come check us out. We've had active, even our inpatient in Houston, we've had active duty guys that have gotten permissive TDY and came down to our inpatient because we don't turn any file work over to your boss or anything. It's completely discretionary, and it's by combat vets for combat vets. You're not going to come at our office and have some lady that has got 8 years postgraduate but was never in the military try to tell you about combat PTSD.
Right. Yep. So it's almost as I got a picture of the Ken's 5. They do the real men wear the gown. You know what I mean, to push the hospital. And then, so this is a situation where you're saying, real men sit around and we talk about the issues and we work it out, and we want to make sure that there's nothing that's interior. Even when in my line of work, in insurance adjusting, I see some of the people and they will get yelled at and what have you, and I'll tell them, you need to walk away and you need to figure out, do something that you need to work that out, because you've got that personality where you're internalizing everything that they're giving you, and then it's going to have an ill effect on you. And so this is a situation where the men have to understand, and the women, the women get PTSD too.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to single anybody out, but they have to understand this is something that you've got to work out. You've got to get out from underneath you, or from inside of you, because if you don't, it just sits there and eats you up.
Yeah, we equate it to, right, I have PTSD and you might have PTSD, but my rucksack and your rucksack may be completely different. I can put your rucksack on and it might feel like there's pillows and there'd be nothing, but you put my rucksack on and it might be even heavier than your rucksack. It's the glass marbles in the jar, right? When everyone's jar's shaped different, everyone's got different size marbles, it's that kind of thing. So I guess, if you look at my business card, I have a combat infantryman badge on there. So any guy you come talk to with us, if they're a Marine, they're going to have whatever the Marine equivalent is. I don't know. Wasn't a Marine, but if they're in the Army, they have a combat infantry badge. You're not going to get, like I said, a cook or,
not Steven Seagal, right?
Right. Yeah, you're not going to get a cook or a therapist or somebody trying to talk. These are just dudes that have been through it, that are working. I'm still working on my stuff, but I'm so far ahead of the game where I was. Sorry, seven.
We'll cut that out.
Yeah, bleep that. 7. I'm so far ahead of the game, from 7 years ago.
Right.
Well,
they say if you want to do anything, if you want to learn anything well, you learn to teach it, and so that's what you're doing. You're helping yourself by helping other people.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we're thanking you, Cody, for doing that Bravo Zulu job that you're doing and helping out so many people.
I appreciate it, Riley.
Thank you, Cody.
Thank you.